Prime Minister Honorable Burenge Bainimarama recently returned from the Commonwealth Heads of Governments meeting in London, where he and leaders from 53 nations from across the world looked for ways to tackle some of the great challenges facing Commonwealth nations. The nation's business team accompanied the Fiji head of government to this important biennial gathering of the Commonwealth family. Stay with us as we bring you sights and sounds of London, as well as all the highlights from the meetings and the engagements of the Prime Minister Burenge Bainimarama. The Fijian head of government, who is also the 23rd Conference of Parties president, joined leaders from 53 other Commonwealth nations, bringing together a diverse community that work together to promote prosperity, democracy and peace. Hosted by the United Kingdom, the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, where leaders from all the member countries came together to reaffirm the Commonwealth's common values, address the shared global challenges faced by the countries of the Commonwealth, and agree how to work to create a better future for all its citizens, particularly young people. The streets of London were dressed in flags of the Commonwealth nations, which further indicated the special place these nations have in Britain. Among these flags was the noble banner blue, which flew with pride and soared among the rest. Her Majesty the Queen Elizabeth II opened the week-long meeting at Buckingham Palace.
Put simply, we are one of the world's great convening powers, a global association of volunteers who believe in the tangible benefits that flow from exchanging ideas and experiences and respecting each other's point of view.
It's a meeting that takes place at a time of significant global challenges. The rules-based international system, which has consistently delivered both prosperity and peace, faces threats in many forms and on many fronts. Climate change and extreme weather continue to take lives and damage livelihoods across the Commonwealth.
The Honourable Prime Minister also met with other members of the royal household, including Prince Henry of Wales, and briefed him on recent developments at home, especially with the recent two tropical cyclones, Tropical Cyclone Josie and Tropical Cyclone Kenny. He also held bilateral discussions with the Prime Minister of Australia, Honourable Andrew Turnbull, and New Zealand's Jacinda Ardern, to thank them for their continued contribution to the Pacific. The Fijian head of government then joined his counterparts at a gathering at Windsor Castle for the leaders' retreat, a day when leaders engage in frank dialogue and set the course for future Commonwealth cooperation.
Friends, I have to tell you that I traveled to London reluctantly because so many of my people are suffering and in need. And I naturally wanted to continue to be out there with them in the affected areas. But I also know that unless we tackle the root cause of these events, nothing I can do at home can prevent them from suffering all over again. So in this year, in which I have the privilege of being the president of COP23, I'm here to urge those leaders who represent 2.4 billion of the 7.5 billion people on earth to join me in using all our power as political leaders to tackle this crisis head-on.
The summit's theme, Towards a Common Future, focused on building on the strengths of Commonwealth to ensure this unique organization is responsive to global challenges and delivers a more prosperous, secure, sustainable and fair future for all its citizens, particularly its young people. While there, Prime Minister Bainimarama represented Fiji alongside leaders from across the world to leverage the great advantages of our Commonwealth partners, our shared language, histories and values to tackle some of the great challenges facing Commonwealth nations. As the president of COP23, PM Bainimarama used the opportunity to again bring the voice of every Fijian to the global stage by passionately advocating for global action on climate change. He called for the full and effective implementation of the Paris Agreement and also indicated that the Talanoa dialogue introduced by Fiji in Bonn last year will continue when the COP presidency is handed over to Poland.
The Talanoa dialogue was embraced by the global community at COP23 as the best way to raise ambition and action. Fiji will continue to be a force in the global climate negotiations after our presidency ends in December, because we have carried with Poland as president of COP24 of the Talanoa dialogue. And I have come to CHOGM urging you all to embrace this dialogue and spearhead the fight for more ambitious climate action.
I've traveled over the past 5 days or 6 days from Tuvalu to London, spending like 36 hours flying time to reach here because of the implication and impacts of climate change, global warming on my islands, and likewise on yours as well, Prime Minister, in Fiji, and many others in the Pacific region. We are feeling and suffering the plight and the impacts of climate change, sea level rise, tropical cyclones. It's affecting our livelihood and questioning, also challenging our survival.
I think there is a common thread that is coming through, that climate change is certainly no longer speculative. And so therefore there is no further room for denial. Climate change, with all of its impact, is here to stay, and we can be assured that it's going to get worse and also escalating according to the recent and constantly changing science that is coming forward.
The Honorable Prime Minister Porenge Bainimarama also built support amongst Commonwealth countries towards efforts to gain global leaders to commit to limiting on the increase in global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius, the most ambitious target of the Paris Agreement.
But governments at every level, national, state and cities, must put forward proposals that confront the reality of climate change. We can no longer afford prevarication, diversion or delay. These proposals will involve tough choices and an urgent requirement to reduce greenhouse gas emissions as soon as humanly possible. It can be done and it must be done. And I ask the nations of the Commonwealth to take the lead.
At CHOGM, the heads of government adopted the Commonwealth Blue Charter, a commitment to protect oceans from the growing threats of climate change, pollution and overfishing.
And of course, we look forward to your support because the ocean is important for all of us. And of course, you cannot deal with ocean issues in isolation because oceans and climate change are interrelated and interlinked.
Stay with us. After the break, we will bring you more from the meeting in London. While in London, the PM also launched Fiji's Green Bond, the first sovereign green bond in an emerging economy, on the London Stock Exchange, a move that was met with high praise from the global investment community. Fiji's Green Bonds was launched early morning at the London Stock Exchange market. In a first for the exchange, the markets were open with the beating of the lally. Speaking at the launch of the Green Bonds, the Fijian head of government said it was a proud day for Fiji as a nation, as the launch also marked Fiji as the first sovereign nation to sell their bonds at the London Stock Exchange.
This is an important day for Fiji as we celebrate the listing of our sovereign green bond on this great exchange, arguably the premier capital market in the world. And it has been a great thrill for me to be here in person to open the day's trading. Fiji, as you know, is a small island state in the Pacific, has brought a novel financial instrument to this famous floor. It's an instrument designed to help our nation cope with the reality of climate change. To finance the various projects, as you've heard, we need to build a more climate resilient economy. And we have shown the world that an emerging market bond with these characteristics can be launched successfully.
Prime Minister Bainimarama added that the Fijian Green Bond will surely benefit both investors and the Fijian people, who would be the ultimate beneficiary, providing both financial returns and critical assistance for vulnerable people on the ground.
And this is what I'm most proud of, connecting this great exchange through this green bond with ordinary Fijians on the other side of the world. I also hope that global exposure that the London Stock Exchange gives this instrument will encourage further investment in Fiji. And I want to close by urging you all to spread the word about the benefits of green bond and green finance.
The Green Bond will fund projects with clear environmental and social benefits, like building more resilient schools, reducing impacts of flooding, restoring native trees, and promoting renewable energy. It will also help support Fiji's commitments to the Paris Climate Change Agreement. While climate change is a global challenge, it hits developing countries hardest, and trillions of dollars are needed. By creating a new market for climate finance through green bonds, Fiji can build a more resilient future.
British Minister of State for Energy and Clean Growth, Honourable Claire Perry, welcomed Fiji's green bonds into the London market, adding that it was a real breakthrough.
It's a really exciting, it's probably possibly the most exciting market opening I think I've ever seen. And it's really important for three reasons. The first is that, as we have heard, this is a real breakthrough, a sovereign green bond issued by the first developing nation, the first country in the Southern Pacific, the first small island state, and a bond that has already attracted the confidence of investors. And I doubt there will be much trading in it. I think it will be a buy and hold investment, because people are absolutely certain that both of them will be repaid and also want to be part of this regeneration process.
With this bond, Fiji has demonstrated that green capital markets can be created in emerging economies, and that all countries, big and small, have an important role to play in facilitating climate solutions.
The Prime Minister and I have met many times now over the past year. He is astonishing at getting out there and doing a thing based on the Tanaloa dialogue, which I have also learnt about, which is about listening to each other and effectively telling the stories of what life is like if you are in a small island state in a vulnerable part of the world, facing down the barrel of the effect of climate change. And I have to tell you, it has been an incredibly effective way of getting countries around the world to raise their ambitions, to understand that this is a real threat. It's not something we need to deal with in 100 years' time, it's something that's happening now.
World Bank Group President Jim Yong Kim said during the launch that as Fiji takes the helm of COP23, Fiji is uniquely positioned to inspire other countries to meet their respective targets and build resilience against climate change. Donald Brydon, chairman of the London Stock Exchange Group, welcomed Fiji with open arms, saying it was history in the making, with Fiji opening the London trading and celebrating the inaugural listing.
The issuance of a green bond by Fiji is an absolutely landmark event in the evolution of international finance. It's the first sovereign bond of its type in the world, and coming from an emerging nation and on a subject as important as related to climate change, you could not be more pioneering, sir. And to have placed this access to climate finance at the heart of your Prime Ministership is a really important statement, and a brave and bold statement, and you should be hugely congratulated for it.
Coinciding with CHOGM was a Tourism Fiji event aimed at improving marketing of Fiji as a destination in the United Kingdom. Organized by Tourism Fiji, the event was a first to be held in the United Kingdom and provided an opportunity for potential investors and tour travel agents to meet and network with senior government policy makers and have first-hand knowledge of the policies, initiatives and marketing strategies for the UK. Minister for Industry, Trade and Tourism Honourable Fayaz Koya officiated at Tourism Fiji Bula event.
In 2017, approximately $55.8 million was generated from the UK market, which contributed about 3% of the total visitor earnings. Fiji is more than just a sun, sand and sea and surf destination. It's an ideal family holiday destination, perfect for weddings and honeymoons. And additionally, over the years, Fiji has developed into a destination that provides you with a wide and diverse range of products and services.
This has been through the efforts of a collaborative approach taken by stakeholders in enticing visitors from this part of the world to the tropical paradise of Fiji.
And we're responsible for the marketing of Fiji as a destination in the UK and throughout Europe. So we will have functions such as this evening where we're inviting special trade partners to engage with people coming up from Fiji, but also on a day-to-day level we're doing campaigns both to consumer and also to the travel industry. Our job is also to work closely with our airline partners in Fiji Airways to strengthen our airlift ties and also, shipping and cruising to the region. And we attend various shows throughout the year. We also coordinate the advertising and the PR. And, on a very basic level, just, answering the telephone to people inquiring about how they can get from Suva to Nadi in a bus, basic information.
Prime Minister Honorable Vorenge Bainimarama completed his visit to the United Kingdom with a reception by the Fijian community for the Prime Minister and his delegation. The reception was attended by former Fiji residents, members of the British Armed Forces, rugby players, businessmen, and women and students. The reception provided an opportunity for Fijians not only to meet the Fijian head of government, but also come together as a community, a family, and make new friends. He said Fiji's standing in the international fora could not have been better as he leads the fight against climate change as COP23 president.
The world has done me the honor of making me a voice for the vulnerable as we try to move the climate negotiations forward. And in the end, I knew that I needed to have that voice heard in London, just as we must be heard in all the great forums in the world if we are to have any chance of confronting the magnitude of this challenge. I always say that I trust the intelligence and common sense of the Fijian people. They know that I'm fighting for their interests at home and overseas. And I draw great strength from the support I'm getting as I lead this battle as president of COP23. Because the Fijian people know that this is a struggle not only for our generation, but of generations of Fijians to come.
He urged them to ensure that they register to vote in the 2018 general election.
I urge you all of you to make sure that you are registered to vote in the forthcoming election. I want all of you who are eligible to vote to exercise your democratic right.
Prime Minister Vorenge Bainimarama took the opportunity to brief the Fijian community on recent developments back home, including updating them on the 2 tropical cyclones which caused floods in towns and cities.
First Cyclone Josie, and then Cyclone Kenny. Killed at least 8 people, caused serious storm damage in Kandavu, and flooded several of our cities and towns, including Nadi, Bar, Rakiraki on Witilevu, and Lambasa and Savusavu in Unolevu. Once again, people's homes and businesses and some of our nation's infrastructure was damaged or destroyed. And once again, too many Fijian families were left mourning the deaths of their loved ones. As soon as this cyclone subsided, I was out in the affected areas making sure that the government is being as responsive as possible to our people's needs.
The Fijian head of government also paid tribute to sons of Fiji who have and are currently serving in the British Army. Political differences aside, PM Bainimarama said Fiji and Fijians were united and stronger than ever.
Whatever our political differences, we can all agree on certain values that define us as Fijians. And the first and foremost of this is that we are a caring nation, a nation in which we care for each other and care about the people living in other nations as well. I was again struck in the flood-affected areas in the last couple of weeks about the way so many Fijians came to the assistance of those who were suffering, of how ordinary people banded together to raise money or donate essential supplies, or simply got in their vehicles and went to the affected areas to lend a hand in the disaster response and the cleanup. This goes to the heart of what it means to be Fijian. Na yalololoma na velomani, the loving heart that defines our relationships with each other and with the world.